Today we're in the first episode of Tutorial Tuesdays, and today I'm going to teach you how to do something really simple of a paper towel swipe. And when I mean simple, this is by far one of the simplest techniques out there. Everyone is so afraid to do it, just ugh. Anyways, as you can see here, I am spreading the white negative space out on the canvas thinly with my palette knife. My palette knife is my favorite tool to use when I'm spreading out negative space like this. I try to get my paints really thin, especially for negative space use like this. I now have a purring cat on my lap. Awesome. As you can see, I'm trying for all I am worth to use my palette knife for the edges. But in the long run, it just didn't work. I ended up having to essentially finger paint the edges, which is always fun. Finger painting, yay, I'm in kindergarten again. Normally, I really don't show you guys all of this, but it's really an important step when it comes to preparing for a pour painting. When I do my normal videos, you'll see that I always cut this out and I'll fast forward it for you because, well, kind of boring to watch. And I get that more than most. Because my channel's name is Sarah's Abstract Expressions, I'd like to, well, express myself in an abstract way. So let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see from me, if you want to see something other than pour painting, because obviously this channel can go a lot of different ways. It doesn't just have to be pour painting. I can express myself in different ways. I'd really like to know what you guys think, so let me know. Here I'm tilting the canvas to try and even out some of the negative space that I have. I've noticed that I have some blank spots that I caused with my palette knife, causing like a weird suction thing. It happens sometimes. It's just one of those things that it happens. Since my base layer wasn't thick enough, I decided to add a little bit more white paint and tilt it so I could cover those blank spots that I caused with my palette knife and get a nice even layer. The more you tilt the canvas, the faster the paint flows. So I was trying to get the paint to move over raw canvas, which makes it that much harder. And so I was very much struggling in this sense to get the paint where I wanted it. All my canvases are pre-gessoed, so when I go to add paint to them, it makes it really simple. I don't have to prep them first. They're all pre-stretched. I don't have to make frames, blah blah blah. It makes life. I'm always buying canvases at Michael's or another store that's local. Paint. If it's pretty evident when you don't have enough paint. In this case, it was quite evident I didn't have enough paint on my canvas. So sometimes you just have to add a lot and it looks like a lot, but I'm always buying canvases at Michael's or another store. So I started tilting it again, and after I tilted it, I decided to poke the canvas at where the empty holes were. By the time I was done with that, I realized it was a little uneven, so I used the other end, the jelly end, I suppose, of my peanut butter and jelly. It took forever, but the paint finally started rolling off. The butter dealie that I got at the dollar store. Love the dollar store. It's so amazing what you can find there for so cheap. So cheap. This white paint is taking absolutely forever to tilt. So here I'm adding lines of phthalo blue and a little bit of metallic blue that I mixed in, and my regular paint mixture. If you want to see that, that will be up in the right hand corner as well as the end of this video, so make sure you watch this video. It's really cool. I'm making lines on the outside of my rectangles and then I'll fill it in after. I'm sorry about the wind, it just seems to kick up every time I go to record myself. It's ridiculous. The whole reason I ended up bringing the blue cup in closer towards the end was so I wouldn't fling paint everywhere. Like I said, I'm so shaky all of the time. There's nothing I can really do about it. I tried deep breathing, I've tried meditation. The only time I don't shake is when I'm sleeping, and at that point I'm kicking the crap out of Jeff and my poor cat. The color I'm using here is actually a color shift paint that I found while I was out shopping for supplies one day. It is a red that transfers to a light pink. It's really nice in the light. This is what I meant by shaky. You can see the one drop of red, and honestly when it happened I just went because it was all I could do. I was trying to get my lines as straight as possible for this, but in hindsight it doesn't really matter because either way it's gonna like make circles and cells and whatever. So now that I'm done adding the red, I can add my color shift yellow, which is a color shift that goes to a light green. Unfortunately, you can't see me cover the bottom edge of the canvas, so I ended up cutting that part out because, well, you can't see it, so what's the point? I wanted to do a painting, actually, the long ways, well, portrait on my, instead of landscape for my canvases, because I had never done that before with this. After I was done adding the yellow, I realized I really didn't put enough, well, I needed an accent color into this, so I decided to add black. But when I added my black, it went a little overzealous in the blue, and I decided to add lines of black throughout it with my stir stick instead. In the end, I'm really happy I added the black lines to the solid colors. It would have really changed the painting if I had not added that black. You'll see what I mean. I also realized that I had put paint way too far down on the canvas and still needed to put a little bit more closer up towards the top before I added any more white for the swipe. So I decided to do yellow, blue, and then red on top. Shaking is going to be the reason why Save the Paint Sundays happen. I swear it. So when I'm adding more white on top, I'm using this as my swipe, so I add enough to pretty much just create a little rectangle where it is, and then I use my stir stick to pat in the corners as needed. After I get the white top on there, I grab my little sheet of paper towel and I put it in the paint, make sure it's fully saturated before I go and pull it down, and by doing this I'm pulling the white paint over all of the colored paint, and it mixes and creates beautiful cells, as you will see. The reason so many cells even happen is because of the silicone that I add into the paint. I use a coconut oil that is also for like hair, beards, whatever, coarseness, dryness, blah blah blah. I had to tilt the canvas back a little bit because I noticed all the paint was kind of running off the one edge I had swiped it off of, so I was tilting it back so it at least stopped running off the one edge. I noticed some paint was lacking in the corners, and before I torched it, I kind of wanted to add more paint there just in case. I didn't want to burn any. So when you torch the painting like this, you're releasing all the air bubbles that were trapped in the paint, as well as heating up the silicone and bringing it to the surface, and that creates more cells because the silicone is trapped in the paint. Hey guys, I really hoped you liked my first tutorial. Make sure you comment below what you thought, what you think I should do in my future videos, because that would be really cool. Also, if you're new here, please subscribe because that always helps. Make sure you like this video if you, well, like this video. And I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.